Hello, friends. As you know, before I start, I always request you, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, you may please do so. Of course, when I say this, I notice that some more people do subscribe. So that's why I tell you this. Thank you. Yesterday, we were talking about how if Jesus was a bit disappointed because he told his disciples that he was going away and none of them asked him, "Where are you going?" And he asked them, "How is that none of you asked me where I was going?" And then he said further, "When I have told you this, your grief has filled your hearts." That means Jesus knew that they were feeling bad that he was going away. And whenever we feel bad about anything, Jesus is always there in our times of grief, in our times of pain, in our times of trouble. And as he said yesterday, "But I must go so that I can send you the Holy Spirit and I must tell you the truth." So this is what happened yesterday in the gospel, and today's gospel is actually further from yesterday's gospel, the same chapter, where Jesus says further, "I have much more to tell you, but you cannot bear it now. But when he comes, the Spirit of truth, he will guide you to all truth. He will not speak on his own, but he will speak what he hears and will declare to you the things that are coming." Now, this is again quite interesting. He says, "I have much more to tell you, but you cannot bear it now." Good question. Why is he telling his disciples that "I have much more to tell you, but you cannot bear it now"? Is it because, as he said yesterday in the gospel, because your hearts are filled with grief or pain? And this should remind us, my dear friends, that often when we pay too much attention to our grief and when we are too overpowered or too obsessed with ourselves, with our own pain or our own troubles, of course we should be worried and we should have plans, a plan A, plan B, plan C to get out of our troubles. But if we are obsessed with our problems and troubles and all the time keep worrying, then as Jesus says, you cannot take anymore what I am going to tell you. You cannot bear it now because you are too much bearing your own pain. And this is one very important thing I think that we need to learn from today's gospel, that when we occupy too much with ourselves, then we cannot hear God's voice, God's words. As Jesus is clearly saying, that you cannot bear it now. But then he says further, "But when he comes, the Spirit of truth, he will guide you to all truth." This is again, he's speaking about the function of the Holy Spirit. Yes, in our times of trouble, Jesus is always there as he was with the disciples. But in addition, he tells us or explains to us the role of the Holy Spirit. Remember, this is practically the second last week before Pentecost, and soon there will be the feast of the Ascension of the Lord in heaven. Here in Europe, in Austria and in Germany, it will be already tomorrow on Thursday. But in other parts of the world, it will be celebrated on Sunday. Yes, Ascension of the Lord. And before he leaves the earth for heaven, he's preparing his disciples not to be troubled. "I know your hearts are filled with grief, but I am there. I'm telling you the truth. And now you're too troubled, you cannot bear it, but the Spirit of truth will come and he will tell you everything. And he says, of course, he will not say things on his own. He speaks only the things that he hears from the Father or from above. And that has a lot to tell us, that if we pay attention, and this is always the call from God, to pay attention to his word and his promises. And what are his promises? Of course, we heard it this week. He offers us to remain in him, to remain in his love, and in addition, one of the best things he does is to offer us his friendship. And that is what can make our whole life different and wonderful. I wish you all the best. Thank you.